I mean, there's informal activities that people do
Yeah.
in their bubble.
Well, I was
Or
thinking like
outlaw matches.
like outlaw matches. Yeah.
Like outlaw matches. We gotta come up with a different name because you're not. Yeah, they are outlaw matches. Holy
Yep.
cow!
Exactly.
I prefer the outlaw CRPS matches myself, but anyway.
Yeah,
Mask and all, right?
yeah. It's OCRPS.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
It should be the C should be criminal.
Criminal outlaw matches.
Outlaw
Oh,
criminal.
Only if you
Precision.
get caught. Are you breaking the law? Is there a law? You're. I don't know.
I don't
That's a
get
good
out much,
question.
so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Has the ORPS logo changed?
No.
I keep seeing in my head like a dude
Like
with a bandana type of thing.
Oh yeah, so that's the original. That's old school.
Do you still
that's-
have that?
That's when we shared it with Jonathan. John. When he was he said, I need a logo for the ORPS set. So we got the real outlaw guy.
And that's what came out.
That's the amount of creative juice I had in my creative juice bottle at that time. And then we put it out there and it was cool. And then said, I can't do that. It's got to be a little bit more refined.
It's a hard thing to come up with.
It's one of the most challenging. So I kind of crowdsource it. So Matt and Dory helped out a bunch, which is awesome.
Did very well actually.
Rimfire race gun. Got to get that started, man. So you can win a medal, Matt.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you have no idea how bad I want to win my own medal.
What's missing, Matt? You have the range.
The timer. Oh, hang on, guys.
All you have to do is get it going.
Well, that's the thing. We don't have the range right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'll take care of the ORPS at Stittsville. You can run.
Let me just share this. Let me just share the screen so folks know what's going on. So for those that are tuning in, all 10 of you are still 3 minutes out for just the regular chit chat, the pre-show show. Hey, Dave. Hey, Doug. How are you, buddy? Yeah, it will look like the Skull Bandit exactly. I think it might have been a direct ripoff of the Skull Bandit. I'm not sure. It's a little hazy. That was so 2019.
I want to see it's still on the Rimfire Precision page. Let me see.
Is it?
Isn't there a little banner on the bottom?
There are pockets of the website where we haven't been around in a little bit. So
maybe not.
But
clearly, I've seen it because otherwise, I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I see it every now and again. It kind of just shit, I got to fix that, and then something else takes over.
There you go.
Anyone know if Kevin's joining us tonight, or is he working yet? He's a hardworking guy. I feel guilty.
Yeah.
Unlike us four other people.
I was bothering him this afternoon about 3D printing expertise. I need to replace essentially a plastic part that's broken on the cleaning robot in the pool. And these things are that thing is so old that you can't find the parts anymore. So I figured,
Hey, Chris.
We'll see if we can get that going.
Is it a big part?
No, it's not too bad. It's just the part that keeps the filter in place because right now the filter floats and eventually sometimes it just pops right out and then it's just moving the dirt around. Not useful.
That sounds like a JB Weld and a rubber band kind of solution.
Sure, could do that.
That's like guys who spend all kinds of time 3D printing something that they could have made out of a piece of wood for in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But hey, we all use the tools that are available, and guys have the ability to print whatever they can imagine, which is awesome.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing. And I mean, give it a few years and we'll be printing metal parts because that's, it's not like it exists now. It's just not particularly cost effective for us. So,
especially if we don't have one.
But
what's the price of entry for a 3D printer setup? Is it still like a couple $100?
I was gonna say 3-4, but yeah, I guess you could. There's a wide array out there. I'm sure Kevin makes a good case. I'll probably end up getting one soon. And I have Jeremy, my son, pushing to do all kinds of little projects. So
there you go.
We'll probably.
Sorry, Chris has a question on the ORPS match on the 29th. Is that the one in Guelph, Chris? That one is going to be rescheduled most likely based on the most recent restrictions.
Oh, I got a question for you, Rick.
Yeah.
Since the scoring was supposed to be May to October, but everyone's still in lockdown for May, is it going to be June to October now, or are we keeping
I don't
May?
know, man.
So I was
Yeah.
thinking about that, but it's
it's-
not everyone that's on lockdown. It's
I know,
really just
but
Ontario.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So I think we have to keep the schedule. May
But
to
we'll do more. We'll catch
because you
up.
can catch up. Thomas is good at catching up.
I
think
really want
Well,
to shoot May because I
Rolf can't
wrote that
catch
course
up.
I'm
on
gonna
fire.
I'm gonna share the burden with this with everybody here, but yeah, definitely we'll catch
All right, guys. It is time. Hang on one sec. Let me run the. Oh, sorry. to 1 second, please. Episode 14. This week, the gang gets together to talk about training and practicing for CRPS, ORPS competitions. What are you doing to stay informed or get informed? Once again, the Rimfire Nation podcast is proudly brought to you by testro.ca. And as always, past episodes are available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and on the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the heck out of it so other folks can get tuned in on how to do better in these competitions. As always, we are going to do new product introductions from. Actually, let me add Kevin to the. Hey, Kev, you're on now. New products from Testro this week. Asmir keeps upping the game by adding more stuff that is more and more interesting to me every week. So this week, the latest announcements, and we always just go to the what's new page. And in terms of what is new, he's got the there's that new CRKT. So he's bringing in CRKTs. Apparently, he's got a whole box full of CRKT knives, just waiting to get on. And this is the one he liked, which is the Kit Carson Tanto Deadbolt Folder. So if you're into knives, stay tuned for more updates from Testro on the CRKT assortment, along with their Victorinox products. Also, I just noticed he's finally put his 455, 457 mini sets on the website. Looks like he's got 17 HMRs and 22 LRs out there. I didn't see any WMRs in there, so I might pick up the 17 HMR because I've got boxes of 17 HMR in the safe when I had the Savage 93. What else? Also, you guys see the new 527 Varmint MTR in 6.5 Grendel. Sexy rifle, and the one that I've still been thinking about is that 5.57 Varmint in 308. If it was a 20-inch barrel, I probably would have jumped all over that. I'm a sucker for 20-inch barreled rifles. So that is what's new from Testro. What else? Just checking my notes. That's it.
I just want to say, if you have a 457 MTR, that MTR in centerfire would be a real nice pairing.
That's true. That would be awesome. Hello, everybody. Let's see if there's new comments. Yeah. So Chris is saying Ontario is supposed to open outdoor sports any day now. True. We are waiting. We've had a question on getting an update in terms of the season. So right now we are all standing by for when the restrictions lift all across the country. Basically right now we're in a holding pattern. So I've been working with range operators from Vancouver Island all the way to Ontario. And so far everything is suspended for now, including especially Ontario. But rest assured, as soon as the restrictions lift, we will be scrambling to get all of the postponed. None of the matches are canceled; they're all postponed. Whenever possible, we would postpone it because we want to make sure that we offer a good number of matches so folks can participate and pile on those points and trash talk with their buddies on how they got their butts whooped. Especially Kevin and John. I know those two guys have this rivalry. I don't know how that happened, but they've got this rivalry that John's left. He's rage quit. So as soon as it opens up, and what I'm hearing is any day now, Ontario should be talking about moving back. I don't know, but we'll see. But the goal is to keep the venue and then find an optimal weekend to have the events. The other option also is if the locations aren't available. Hey John, welcome back. We're going to find alternates, and I know quite a few guys are looking for alternates. Thomas, I think you're in there, and I know a couple of other guys are stepping up to offer potential location changes. So again, the challenge with locations is when we book early in the season, because typically the private land that we use is also planted in the summer. So we're in that season where some of those might not be available. So we'll keep you updated, and we'll share updates as we have them available. So without any further ado, I am Rick, one of your hosts of the Rimfire Nation podcast, proudly brought to you by Tessero.ca, and I'll let my cohorts in crime introduce themselves. Matt, I think you're next.
Hey everyone, my name is Matt, aka Womfat on social media. I really like shooting rimfire. I hope this lockdown ends soon because I want to shoot some matches, and I'm helping Rick with some new shooter development / loaner rifle and general gear testing, I guess.
Gear testing, comparisons, helping them get to the bottom of what works and what doesn't work.
Yes, that's right.
Maybe we could talk about stuff we wasted our money on.
Right? Yeah, there's a long list I could
the biggest regret. We'll talk about that after.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thomas, how about you, man?
Well, I'm Thomas. I'm just generally a 22 rimfire nerd, and I try to help with ORPS as much as I can. And apparently, you guys said that it was a costume party today, and I'm the only one who showed up with the costume.
Like all costume parties, one guy.
That's okay. I wear it proudly.
There you go. Yeah, so those are the new, for those that don't know, those are the new CRPS staff shirts that we put together. And
nicely designed by Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin,
well
for
done.
Making it look good.
Thomas, you should stand up and give a little...
While we're there. Yeah. You wearing pants?
Do I look like a model? Seriously?
First of all, are you wearing pants?
Yes. Phew, I got pants on.
So we have all
I don't know if I can stand far enough so you
there
guys
you go. Yeah, that's good.
Nice, yeah.
Nice.
Front.
Yeah. So there you go. That's awesome. They turned out really well. So,
John Jay, your turn.
G'day guys, John here. A CRPS competitor and match director, and I work behind the scenes doing the stats for the year, and in general just running the numbers, seeing how guys are doing.
Right. And it looks like you're in a hotel room.
Yeah, we're on the road again this week.
All right. Kevin, how about you, man? You're looking less stressed than you did last week.
Oh yeah. Maybe. I'm Kevin. I'm somewhat involved here. I designed the jerseys, so maybe that's where I give help to the team.
Give back.
And I also put together some degree of zeroing the loaner rifles. In another note, I'm probably going to be turning off my camera because I'm in the middle of eating dinner here, so I don't want to be disrespectful.
No problem. No problem. Thanks. Well, let me just check the comments here.
What's for dinner, Kevin? Oh, darn.
Oh, it's delicious. It's like I already destroyed it, but it's just chicken and rice and veggies, you know. I can just keep sharing my screen if you guys want. I just think it's not professional.
It's perfectly normal. Everyone's got to eat, Kevin. It's a normal human activity.
Okay, well then I'll keep it on.
Yeah. So this week's topic is we're going to talk about practicing in turns. So how many shot in the last week, and how are you guys finding time or location? So Kevin, so I got a chance to get out. So sorry, Thomas. I know Stittsville is just down the road from you.
Yeah, I know. You
can't get out. Yeah. So from a practice perspective, I think, one of the things that people ask is, so what do you guys work on? I think, and I've said this before, I mean, if you haven't had the opportunity to take a marksmanship instruction or any formal instruction, check out Project Mapleseed, mapleseedrifleman.com. I know that the season is starting. I know Alberta had a couple of events before they went into lockdown, but get on the website, mapleseedrifleman.com, and subscribe for updates. That way you'll be sent an email when events start back up. And I know all across Canada, the shoot bosses are setting up events, and they're waiting for the restrictions to lift so they can get back at it. Our goal is to have 75 to 100 events across Canada this year, and we are going to try and do that. So that's a great way. And after that, then you'll know what you need to be practicing. Historically, when we all started shooting, we just went to the range and tried to make smaller groups from the bench. I think, you can do that as long as you know what you're supposed to be working on. It's not just about turning money into noise. There's fundamentals that you need to be working on, and I think Maple Seed is a great way to hear a way of hearing what those fundamentals are. And then once you've got that exposure to it, then you can work on those. So for me this weekend, all I did was basically sight in a bunch of rifles and try and get back into it. It's been a month or so, maybe 6 weeks since the last time I pulled the trigger. So anyway, yeah, so that's and what I plan to work on is basically just getting steady behind the gun, getting that natural point of aim, and kind of building the checklist of approaching the stage, and what is that checklist that you need to be going through before, during, and after the stage. So starting with a course of fire. And I think I shot with Matt and Kevin once where they say, everyone takes a turn, laying out the course of fire for a stage, and then you shoot that stage. And it's a great way to kind of pick up dynamic stage planning and showing the weaknesses in your stage prep. So I was exposed as someone who needs to think about things more. So anyway, anyone else have any share anything you guys did this week or what you typically work on?
It's funny you mentioned that, because the last video I posted on my YouTube channel was a Rimfire practice session vlog, and it's basically every time we go to practice, which is maybe once every week or every 2 weeks, it's essentially that is we take turns making stages off of different props, and we just kind of keep track of score, and it's just a good way to practice what you would encounter at a regular match. So I think every time we go to practice, Kevin and I, we'll shoot 5 to 8 stages, and it's just like a mini match basically every time. So you get to use your gear like you would regularly at a match and kind of test it out, figure out what works for you.
And you guys got a couple 100 yards, right? Sometimes close to 3.
Yep. We have more.
About 700 yards.
Yeah, but we usually only practice out to around 300 if we're doing normal CRPS stuff. Yeah.
And we've applied the same model at the Stittsville range, and we have the 200 there. So it's a pretty decent practice for both the RPS and CRPS.
Do you set up practice days there, Thomas?
Yeah.
Nice.
Usually every Wednesday afternoon when I can get there.
Okay.
Last year, Matt had a pretty good summer, so he joined me pretty much every week, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah, I try to for sure.
Yeah, Robert, Matt, and I.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
I started practicing in the basement with airsoft.
Oh yeah, how's that working out?
I'm liking it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch to green gas because it's cheaper. I'm burning through CO2. I might get an electric gun. That's my next hobby now is airsoft.
On that subject, I've actually tried to get into airsoft in my basement, and I think there's too many differences between airsoft and in terms of the way you manipulate a bolt and everything.
Yeah.
And the accuracy is what kills me. You know what I'd be very curious to see if anybody would ever make it would be a convenient laser training system, like a CERT. I think it's called CERT.
I think there's a few out there.
Yeah, they're all pistol based, or I'm almost certain they're all pistol based.
Okay.
But I think there is one that's a rifle, but it'd be cool to see a company that makes a laser and a target system that work hand in hand to be able to actually do reasonable training in your basement.
Right. We get a comment from Andre saying that, did you guys not hear they're going to be on the ban list? Well, until they are, Andre, I'm going to keep shooting what I can while I can.
Oh, that's right. He's talking about airsoft, right?
Yeah. And BB guns. BB guns and airsoft. Paintball, too? Is that
anything that looks like a real firearm, I think.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Like so many unregistered. Anyway, don't get me started. Because I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't shoot outlaw matches.
That's right.
And talk about it. Sorry. Where were we, Thomas? Was that you?
I don't know. I think I might have stole that from Matt there, but our process, or the process that I follow with a lot of the guys that shoot the ORPS at Stittsville is we'll show up there. We have a few little constraint that we have to work with when we're not on a match day, so we can't just do anything and lay any steel. But for the most part, it's flexible enough to. We'll typically each walk down a target at a random distance, lays them on the way back, and then we make up a stage. We take turns and shoot him as if it was a match. The only difference, I think, is we typically run a shorter clock just to stress a little bit.
Nice. And
it's the most valuable practice we can do. And if you can do it at 100, do it at 100. And in terms of prop, actually, that's one thing that I've started doing a little differently. I used to cart all kinds of nonsense to the firing line, and I was attracting too much attention. So I eventually settled on the tripod, which I think is a infinitely adjustable barricade. You can adjust the height from pretty much ground level all the way to your tippy toes, and I don't really miss, I think, the actual barricades. Although between Robert Gordon and Matt, we have some pretty cool barricades designed to fit in our cars. So Rob's got that like pegboard. I don't know how to say it, but you've got it like little pegboards that you can hang at different heights. Those are cool because they stress you on time. You have to move the peg. I think the NRS ran a stage like that in Clarence Creek. So that's a really cool prop that we have sometimes. And then Matt has a more classic. I think it's just called a PRS barricade that he brings every now and again. But truly, if you're limited on space, you have a small car, or you just don't want to attract too much attention. Nobody seems to pay attention to someone shooting off of a tripod. So thankfully, I guess they're getting pretty popular with hunters also. So we see them a fair bit on the line.
Somebody wants to know if we can share pics of our homemade props. So while we're talking, if anyone can search and post.
I recently got a tank trap bracket from Nick.
Oh yeah,
from Stittsville as well. Yeah, so I bought a few 4x4s, and tank traps are so nice because there's so many different ways you can shoot off that thing, and I feel like it's good practice for matches because you'll see them there.
And with that bracket, it folds into nothing really. It's just 3 sections of. I think I cut mine at 5 feet instead of the full. I don't know. John's is what, full 8 feet or something like that. I got mine pretty short, so it would fit in my car.
My longest ones might be 8 feet. I don't think so though. Maybe 7.
Here's the typical.
Homemade.
You're much faster. Yeah, roughly they're all about like. Actually, what I'll do is I'll post a link to this plan. It's generally just different ports, different heights, and.
Well, I think it's good to have a barricade like that because if you just train on top of something, you never learn the pulling your rifle out of a hole and shoving it into a hole. And that's actually a lot harder than what you think if you're just used to dropping your rifle on top.
Fair enough.
Stephen Borsellino says one day he hopes to afford 3 8-foot 4x4s for a tank trap.
That's true. So it's funny. I don't know if you can see mine, but on one side I put a chain. There's a chain that hangs there, and every time I bring it out to practice with the guys, we end up ignoring the the side with the chains on it because it's so difficult to shoot off of. Yeah.
Well, very first match we're gonna have chain stages.
That's right.
Oh, And actually, ladders make really good barricades because they're lightweight, easy to transport, and they have kind of ports built into it.
Yeah, so. Like a 6-foot step ladder, or even just like a 4-foot step ladder is cool. That's actually a good way. If you don't want to build a barricade or can't, like a 4-foot step ladder works because there's so many different ports that you can practice with, and you probably have one in your house somewhere.
And you'll see them during ORPS.
Yeah, the ladder definitely is, I think, one of the best ways because it has all the holes that you can go into, as John likes to say.
Or a folding chair. Folding chair works good too.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember which YouTuber it was, but essentially he mentioned that when he goes to the range, he shoots under in a lean-to style thing. So there's a post coming down the middle, just like a steel 3x3 post. So what he ended up doing is he bought 3 carpenter's clamps. The ones that they have the pistol grips.
Yeah,
and then he just squeezed them on at different heights, and then he created a barricade that way. I think that was pretty ingenious.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
Because then it takes no room. You just need 3 clamps. As long as you have a stick at your shooting spot, you can just clamp those on and rotate them in different angles and stuff. And
that's true. That's a good point. I thought about making a stage like that, but that's testing someone's ability to use a clamp. That's unfair. Deploy 3 clamps on the clock.
Seems pretty simple.
For us,
that's like an IKEA stage. So you'll have one guy do it in one way, and then most of the herd will just follow.
Yeah. And there's that one guy that always thinks he's got a better idea, and it's an epic fail. Is that you, John?
That'd be me. But as I recall, I recovered from the fail, and I still got a 9 out of 10. So
there you go.
It wasn't really a fail. No.
I remember the first time I saw an IKEA stage, Thomas brought some of his kids' toys, and I wasn't sure. Like, I don't want to break his kids' toys because that'd be devastating. He gets home and his kids don't have toys. So I was like, I don't know how much weight I'm allowed to put on these certain items.
I know which one you're talking about. Let me find that photo. There was
like
hilarious.
A truck. There was like a little truck or something. Yeah, I didn't want to break that.
It's gonna take a minute, but I'll find that stage.
IKEA stages are a lot of fun.
They are.
I love them.
Now, Steve Borsellino says large cooler works too. You get different heights. It's kind of like a smaller, more useful barrel, a 55-gallon drum. Yeah. Actually, we also had one that's filled with ice one time, so you had to move it across.
Oh my gosh!
The firing point. So you start on one side, and you brought it over to this side, and put it onto a raised platform, and shoot off of that. Bring it back and forth. That also works well. I haven't been incorporating any of those physical exertion stages at our matches.
You've been push-ups and burpees lately.
Yeah.
You mean to say you don't shoot your own?
No. I never create hard stages at the matches I'm going to shoot. Actually, I haven't designed any stages since last Western trip. Like more and more guys are just creating the courses of fire, which is awesome. So, do you have anything else there, John? Sorry, Thomas.
No, sorry. I'm still looking for that photo, but go ahead.
How about you, John? What's your secret sauce, or how do you stay in shape? I know.
Well, that's kind of why I thought this would be an interesting topic, because we're all in different places and relating to what we're focusing on and what we're doing. So last year, I ran a lot of stages. Like, I probably practiced 4 or 5 evenings a week.
Nice.
And I would run stage after stage after stage. And I've quit doing that. And as some have seen, I've been running a lot of dot drills and tracking in Excel my point of impact. And so I did a bunch of that and discovered different things, whatever, about myself, up where I really shoot. And from that, I've transitioned to simply shooting steel at 100 yards. I have a 3-inch and an 1.5 inch circle.
Yeah.
So I'm very well. The last all this year, been very specific drills. So I'll work on kneeling, or I'll work on standing. I'll work on double kneeling, but I'm gonna just do one thing, and that's all I'm gonna do.
So you're working at positionals then at 100 meters, basically, for this.
Yeah.
This next phase of your evolution.
Yeah. And that's what I was doing on the dot drills too. So I would have just done, I still do that some because I track my cold bore. I'm curious if I'll ever get one with the IBI. So I always check that when I go out first thing. And then previously when I was doing the dot drills, I would do a group standing, a group kneeling, and a group prone. And then I would do a timed, do 15 seconds to one shot standing, then 15 seconds, and just keep repeating in each of the 3 positions. And then I'd also do 10 seconds. And then I could track where I'm starting to, what I'm tending to do wrong.
Right.
So then I moved it to 100 yards, and I got sick of printing paper. What I've discovered is, because I ran stages and stages and stages previously in all my training, and now that I've been focusing on one thing, I jerk the trigger. Now, many of you probably wouldn't realize that I'm jerking the trigger because it's so small, but I can tell it when I start shooting at really small targets. Sure. And it was very interesting to me actually when I started this whole dot drill process. And I think when you're new and you're starting, you're trying to learn the flow of things, shooting stages is very important. But that will only take you so far. And then you're going to have to start focusing on the really, really tiny little things.
Yeah.
And that little tiny, like, it's not a flinch. I don't know how to describe it. I cannot catch it on video, but there's a little, and I'm pulling myself off target. I pull myself off target consistently in the same place. And if I pull a good shot, an 1.5 inch target at 100 yards, I can hit it 10 times out of 10. But if I make that little, I don't know what I want to call it.
It's from the Ruger rebar. Those are training scars, man.
Yeah,
because you've been compensating for that 0.1 mil shift.
Well, 0.3, but anyway.
0.3. So there you go. Exactly.
But the thing is, I never could see that before. Yeah. Right? And now with a rifle that's this consistent, these really small details are showing up.
Yeah. But that's interesting because you're at a different part of your evolutionary marksmanship development, right? So when guys get out, fundamentals is always a great place to start. And for ORPS, that's all you really need. But as you get further out, then wind and ballistic accuracy become also important. And there's a balance of the shooter's got to be good, but also you have to know where your bullet's going, right?
Yeah, and that is also the last one. Another thing that I've been really focusing on is bullet trace.
Yeah.
Trying to see where my misses are going, because I miss. That's just the long and short of it. But I don't want to miss twice. That's hard. I don't have the perfect solution for that yet. Good glass, that helps, but
good glass.
No, dot drills. Lots and lots of dot drills. But if I would have started with lots of dot drills, perhaps now I would be doing lots of stages. I'm not sure, but I started with the stages. I did some positional practice before too, but my focus was time and managing my time to use it efficiently and use all of my time. So not rushing when I didn't need to, and wind. Like last year I worked a lot on wind, so I did a lot of long range stuff. So small targets like ORPS kind of scared me. I don't like them. now I've come around, and I've been working 50-yard dot drills for 4 or 5 months now, and it's at least that, because I started last fall, the beginnings of that. But so I think it's very, very important when you're doing drills to throw the clock away for the first while and build a perfect position. If the position isn't perfect, don't take the shot for fun. Break it, build a perfect position. I look at the barricade and I know that I want my right foot to be here and then my left knee to be here. I'm going to repeat that every time so that I can do it quickly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But then as soon as you start rushing, and you'll start missing that tiny 2-inch target you have, but you can hit a 5-inch target, piece of cake. Like you can, you can get too sloppy with the big targets.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting though, because I mean you have to train with time, but you have to train properly with time. So it's shooting with the clock on, but not trying to beat the clock, right? What we've always been trying to do when we're doing maple seed is, I want you to focus on getting the highest number of great shots within the time limit. And if you run out of time, then in the next iteration, figure out where you're losing time so you can get that one extra good shot off. And typically it's target acquisition and stabilizing that, people have no problems pulling the trigger, right? I mean, if you're using a bolt, then you got to cycle and then target reacquisition. So it's getting into stable and finding your target faster typically. So it could be as simple as going from 18 power down to 12 power, right? That's a huge step for people. And then, for the guys with ACC, that's balancing your rifle. We played around with an unbalanced ACC and a balanced ACC this weekend. And the difference is dramatic in terms of how fast you can get on target again, or how little effort it takes to stay on target. So that was interesting.
With a well-balanced rifle and a 22, you should be able to never leave the target. If you're a 3-inch, 3 MOA target, there is no reason to ever leave the target.
Yeah.
Unless your body position was wrong.
Yeah, unless you're muscling it, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a good natural point of aim, it should stay there if it's a 20-pound rifle.
Yeah. No, it's just very interesting to me how when you start looking at little things, you realize how much stuff you have to work on.
Yeah.
That you never noticed until you start pushing it down, until you start missing.
Yeah. And maybe we'll circle back on the key topics to start with. Let's go to Kevin and see what he does to practice, and then maybe we'll go with like the top 5 things that you could think about training and how to train and within the confines of what's available to you. Mr. Goyette.
And if only I had a range in my backyard. That's all I will say.
I'm glad you don't, Kevin, or you'd beat me all the time.
So one of the things I will say, I fully agree with John in saying that training your fundamentals is critical. I don't do it, and the reason why I don't do it is because my Achilles heel is the tripod, and I think we were talking with Yannick, whenever he was on the show, and he was saying how he only uses the bag. So anyways, I have an ACC now, and it is balanced quite well. It's balanced right where it needs to be. I've got a ton of weight on it. And while it surely does give significant advantage to the previous stock, which was not balanced, there's no doubt about it that I'm still experiencing a certain amount of movement, which introduces uncertainty in my shots. If I just bring that tripod over and I just lock it in, there's no uncertainty. There's no practice. I'm taking all the skill out of it, essentially. And now I can just focus on the other variables, which are, in my opinion, now that I've eliminated my movement, I'm focusing on the wind. The reason why I think that's going to be more and more important is I'm currently in a career transition, which is going to essentially take up most of my time. So the time I do have at the range, I have to focus on the things that I can control. And being a good shooter is just one of those things that I can't control. So, yeah. If you see me at a match, just go curb stomp my tripod, and then I'm gonna lose.
So for you, your focus is it's all wind. That's where you're working.
Actually giving you a constructive thought. Up until I want to say, realistically, this summer, I would actively look at weather network reports, and I use an app called Windy. If you guys shoot long range, which everyone here does, windy.com is invaluable. But anyways, in that website, I would often try to find dead days without wind, because I wanted to go and I wanted to shoot my rifle in a windless condition. I wanted to see how good I'm grouping and all this, and am I stable in this and whatever that. Essentially, that wasn't helping me at all, because as soon as you shoot in a windy day, you absolutely are screwed, because it's like, should I be holding 0.5 mil or 1 mil? I'm just going to guess it and hold the right edge of the plate. And then you end up missing because you're not holding enough wind. So what I've been doing basically the entire summer, and I mean, it's not since more or less since the winter actually, is I actively look for windy days. So if Saturday is going to be dead, no wind, and Sunday is going to be full of wind, I purposely go out on the Sunday so that I can practice in a 5, 10, 15 mile per hour wind. And I find since doing that, now that I've been doing it for a couple months, I can go on and be confident in a 2 mil wind call and hit it on the first or second try, versus before, whenever I was basically scared of practicing in the wind. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Obviously my performance isn't going to increase in windy conditions. So I've made it a point to go shoot in conditions that I don't want to shoot in. I would say that's
why the Manitobans and Saskatchewan guys know how to shoot so well in the wind, because that's all they got is wind. They'd kill for a no wind day.
Yeah, like you look like this week, for example, like Monday, Tuesday, up until Sunday, there's like 3 mile per hour winds. Like it's completely useless as a training platform, because you're not gaining anything there. So at this point, if you've been in the game for a year, you know how to collect your dope, and you know that that's not even a problem anymore. Your elevation should be bang on. You should be able to shoot. You just got to train in the biggest factor beyond yourself, which is wind. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Kevin there, because I went through that would have been for me last summer when I focused on wind. It was like this evening it's windy, so I'm going to go out and I use the wind teachers, and I just shot prone, and all I was doing was trying to follow the wind, and it made me a lot better. It really did.
I'm just going to show the
now it's back to the thing of focusing on a specific thing. If we just practice a whole random bunch of stuff, we're not going to improve as quick.
It's a pretty cool website.
Yeah. So here,
the app.
Let's do a quick tutorial. Zoom in on wherever. It doesn't really matter. Just zoom in there, Rick. Okay. Nice and close. Get to a point where you can see a field. Just keep zooming in. All right. So let's go find a field. This is a good tutorial. If you guys want to learn how to use Windy, it's very valuable. Zoom in on that airport or whatever is like on the bottom right there.
Here?
Well, it doesn't matter. Here, so the next thing you're going to want to do is change the view. So click on the hamburger on the top left.
Top left.
Yeah, there's a little, that thing there. And then scroll away at the bottom. Or I'm not sure.
That's all I got. This is the web version.
No, go to settings. No, it's there. Go to settings.
Yep.
Scroll at the bottom. And then change the satellite.
Here.
Yeah, now zoom into a field. Okay, so you're shooting at the field. This is Warren Field, right? It doesn't really matter. Click on a point. Okay, so now see that little arrow, that little orange arrow? Just click on that drop down. All right, now basically here you have a bunch of options, but for us, we don't really care about the temperature. We don't care about really much other than wind. So then the really nice thing here is you see on the bottom you've got different profiles. So click on the one that's called wind. Okay, now it'll actually give you the wind for different environmental models. So there's like ECF and then GFS and Icon, whatever, all this different stuff. What you're seeing with all those different arrows is each one of the different weather models. So they're all correlating pretty nicely here. So obviously, if you were shooting along the lengthwise of this field, like you'd be looking at more or less a full value wind. And the reason why this app is so useful is you can scroll through time. So you're looking at 1 p.m. right now, but you can go to 9 p.m. or 8 a.m. or whatever, right? Roughly what time. And you can basically do like a sensitivity analysis. And if you're coming up on the day before the match, you can get a feel for, okay, is the wind tomorrow going to be completely squirrely, or is it going to be all like this, right? And anyways, it's a fairly valuable application. If you actually get so that's it. There's a paid version which gives you a forecast on a 1 hour frequency instead of a 3 hour frequency. I don't know if that's really worth it, to be honest with you, but it's a very useful app.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
I can see that.
All we need is the shooter version that tells you what edge of the play to shoot at.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This is the perfect tool, and I've seen Kevin do it. While the rest of us were drinking beers the night before the match, Kevin was studying his wind map and basically preparing his wind bracket, and it works well because he beat John that day. So Sunday would be a great day for a match, then, right? Yeah.
Not
Sunday's
versus
the day
Saturday.
you got to go practice.
Sunday's the day you got to go practice. There you go. That's cool. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't know that existed. So, John, you use that app or website too?
Yes, I use the app.
And what do you use it for?
And I got on it from Kevin Needwitz, actually. So the day before a match, I can look at it and kind of scope it out. Are we looking at a high wind day, a low wind day? What direction is it going to be coming from? Do we have a weather change happening? Stuff like that.
Interesting. So then you can bracket your wind ahead of time almost, right?
Not even bracketing. I mean, definitely you can bracket your wind, but I think Battle Hill was probably, because I've shot Battle Hill before, I know the different directions. So you know that throughout the day, you're going to be shooting like northwest at the beginning or whatever. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think northwest. And then by the end of the day, you're going to be shooting northeast. So you can see roughly where the wind is coming throughout the day, and just before even showing up on site, you're creating a mental map of, okay, I'm going to have to start shooting on stage 1. I'm going to be shooting on the left of the target. But then by the time I reach stage 10, I'm actually going to be shooting on the right side of the target because the wind is now at a different angle of attack. So it's if you learn how to use it, I think it's got a certain degree of value. You got to apply your own limits there and understand that it's still a software and it has errors in it, but it has some value.
It's pretty slick.
And you can also, like, you're looking at the satellite view, so you can see how the bush is laid out. And we all know, like, you can have a right to left wind, but you get the right angle with the trees, and you could end up with having to hold the opposite side just because it's swirling along the bush. So it gives you I like to see that because sometimes there's features downrange that you actually cannot see unless you walk downrange.
Mm-hmm.
But the satellite tells it all.
That's cool. That's pretty wild. So if we circle back to say, so if guys are looking to get better, right? And again, we have guys that have been shooting for years and guys that have been shooting for days, right? So it always starts with fundamentals typically, right? And, until you've attended an instructional course, you really don't know what you're supposed to be working on. And people say, don't yank the trigger. You've got, what is it? Natural point of aim. And, they'll say, your breathing is important, but until someone walks you through it and they hammer it, it's hard to understand. So again, get proper instruction. And then it's just work on the fundamentals until you've got them reasonably well, that you're not jerking the trigger and that you've got good natural point of aim. And again, the number of good shooters that we have had on this podcast, including the panel, all echo that fundamentals is something that you can't ignore. And if you're not working on your fundamentals, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, at some point, our fundamentals are going to go past the 50% or 70% to roughly that's not what's holding us back. Where do you guys think the next iteration is? I mean, we always keep working on fundamentals because shooting is a perishable skill. But once you've got a reasonable or a good handle on fundamentals, not perfect, but stable, where do you guys think someone should focus next?
Yeah, well, I think it's still on the fundamentals, but try to shoot with people that shoot better than you do. So, and I'm, if you're in the Ottawa area, one of the guys that's helped me the most is, and I don't know if he's watching tonight, but Tony Norman is an amazing rifleman. And just have him analyze your posture, your cadence, and all this stuff. The feedback that he will offer is amazing. And Tony's not the only one. I mean, I shoot with Robert, Matt, Kevin. There's quite a few that are in the group at Stittsville, and these guys are the Robert and Bobby Ross. Can offer. So basically, to summarize this is find people that are pretty good and ask them to comment on what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong.
Right.
I think that's an amazing way to gain experience.
Yeah, I think it's also the game itself of shooting PRS. There's tips and tricks, and how to use a bipod, how to use a bag, how to set up on the barricade, so stance. So I think that's, for me, what I think is the next. It's applying the fundamentals to barricades in different shooting positions.
Mm-hmm.
To what extent did you guys practice that? I think John, you said you did that like nonstop for like a year, right? 4 days a week.
30-something thousand rounds. And that's where I think you're like, it was very valuable for me to shoot stage after stage and experience time. So that 2 minutes, or I used 1:45, but it's ingrained in you, right?
Yeah.
And eventually you don't really think about time.
Yeah. Now, to what extent can someone practice that at home off dining room chairs or dining room kitchen tables or in the basement on, pile of luggage or whatever, right?
I think 100%. And so if we go back, I have the, I forget what it's called, the guy in Quebec, DFAT. I think that's
someone
what it's
in
called.
The comments mentioned it. The indoor training. There's a few versions, but the indoor.
Yeah,
training
I think the one in Quebec is IDTS.
Yeah,
IDTS. Yes.
Indoor dry fire training systems.
Yeah. So I've had that now for a while. And I did a lot of dry fire in the last 2 winters ago. And I think you can get the same thing, because there you're gonna do like I would do with dot drills, same process. Build your position, focus on building a perfect position and breaking a perfect shot. And you're simply looking to see have your reticle stay on target through the complete process and through your follow through. And if you dry fire through COVID here when you can't shoot, and you do that 3 times a night, I don't know, 50 times, 100 times, whatever, you will shoot way better in 3 months than what you expect. You don't have to do live fire, would be my opinion for. And also doing dry fire, what I found is you're not thinking about the actual shooting part. You're just focused on building positions, and then you can tweak stuff. Turn your hips a little bit and see, do you settle on target better?
Right.
Maybe it's worse. And discover what feels or is the most stable. Because you're not thinking about shooting.
Yeah. So what are you looking for then? So let's talk about the dry fire process. So obviously practicing how to build a position is one thing, but also ensuring that, if you're dry firing, that you are stable before, during, and after you break the shot, right? So you're looking for a good neutral position, that you're stable on the barricade. And Rob Longbridge says it's a good time to plug the mentor program. So for those folks that don't know, all of the CRPS matches and maybe some of the ORPS matches, you have the option to borrow equipment and also ask for an experienced shooter to be your mentor for that event, so they can actually coach you through the event and not only walk you through the rules and regulations and make sure you're doing it safely, but also the tips and tricks and the pointers that kind of get you off on the right foot in terms of, how would you use a bag? What would you do with this barricader? Or they'll run the stage before you, or they'll walk through the guy that's shooting ahead of you and tell you what parts to emulate and what not to emulate, or at least give you some food for thought. So I think that's a good point, Rob. So if you're interested in getting a mentor for a match, whether you're new or an experienced shooter, it's always useful. Just send us an email after registration, and we'll set you up with a mentor. So thanks, Rob, for that reminder. So again, it's practicing breaking the shot at a completely flat, stable firearm before and after. So if you see a lot of wobble when you're pulling that trigger or yanking that trigger, maybe you shouldn't be yanking the trigger. It's more of a soft pull, right?
This is just to add on to the onto the dry firing thing. It's also important to measure your performance. So what I mean by that is, whenever I did it, I think I had 20 yards in my basement. So I ended up putting a 2 MOA target. I just used a Sharpie and I put it on a paper. But 2 MOA at 20 yards is like, I don't know, 0.4 inches or something, 0.45 inches. So actually give yourself a size that is more challenging than a match scenario is important.
Right.
Because I know like the IDTS system, those are fairly large. I think they are sized in MOA and whatever.
Yeah.
But you also have to make sure it's at the right distance or whatever. So whatever you're doing, make sure that you're actually using a proportionally large, proportionally sized target.
Otherwise, I think that's a very good point, because then you get used to seeing that size as well.
Exactly. And just for everyone who doesn't want to do the math, like if you have a 10-yard basement, you want to do a 1/4 inch, and that's going to be about 2 MOA, I think. And then if you have a 20-yard basement, you want to do like a 1/2 inch, and that'll be your 2 MOA target.
It's like a perfect Lego man size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Lego man headshots.
That's for the 10-yard
or body shots if it's a 20-yard basement. Yeah. I guess you also need like a diopter on the front objective, right, to be able to focus that close.
Unless you're on the scope.
Most scopes, I think any Athlon is going to be down to 10 yards, so you should be okay. But if you have whatever, a Kaylee's or a very high quality scope, I'm not saying that it's just the more expensive scopes. Like I don't think they go down below 50.
Yeah.
So
I think if you drop the magnification, you'll be able to see more. It'll be less blurry. So you'll have to play around with it, but you can get a diopter. I think the indoor dry fire training system ships with one, so you're able to focus closer.
Yeah.
So all I did was get the lens from him. I didn't actually get the targets.
So you can buy the lens. Is that lens on the website?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think he was a sponsor in the early days.
The other thing with dry fire, because you don't have any recoil or any movement from the actual shot process, when you actually break the trigger, if you over pull the trigger, you're going to move your rifle, and now you'll see that, and you'll know it was you. It's not maybe it was just the recoil, and you weren't actually shouldering the rifle properly. So I don't think guys should be discouraged if they think, all I can do is dry fire. You have significant gains from dry fire.
Yeah, it's like $33.
I think I'm convinced I'll have to jump on that. I've tried it a few times, but I get bored pretty quickly.
It is boring.
Also, the fact that it's in my house, there's always other things I should be doing, right? So I don't. Yeah, I got to get more serious about it.
Well, see, that's one thing with dry fire, I think, that actually helps, because when you're dry firing, there's nothing about it that is fun. So if you're going to do it, you're going to have a reason.
Right.
So therefore, you are going to train with a purpose, which is going to give you gains. If you just go out and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, you get some kind of a gain to a point. But unless like honestly, Thomas, I shoot so much that it's no longer fun practicing. And I don't know if that makes any sense to you or not.
No, it doesn't.
It's like, oh man, I should go and shoot. Oh, and then my little boy comes and say, Dad, let's go shoot. You gonna shoot today? And it's like, oh, I guess yes, let's go. Yeah. And so I also, when I am doing my practice, I do shoot a few stages.
And then
he picks the stages out.
I think that's called farm world problems or something.
It's called. I don't want to hear about your problems like that, John.
Yeah. So then my boy, he'll pick out the stages.
Cold turkey with this lockdown. I've got the shivers here.
Yeah. Okay, so, I rest my case.
I'm sorry, John. We all feel bad for you. We're going to take up a collection to get you like a Netflix account or something. So Eve asked a question about, dry firing or rimfire. I know that some models are okay to dry fire. Others, you're going to be peening over the
majority are good to go.
Majority are. You just have to contact the manufacturer just to be sure.
I think most of your manufacturers are going to tell you can't because they don't want to chance it. But if you look on the firing pin, and there'll be the section that hits the rim, it's usually chiseled, and then there'll be a flat section, and that'll hit the breech face. And that flat section actually protrudes past the chiseled portion that hits the rim. So when you're dry firing, the flat section of your firing pin is going to hit the breech, and the chiseled portion that would be hitting right on the edge of your chamber will never actually hit the barrel because there's going to be a gap because there's no rim there.
Okay.
So if your rifle has that, you're good to go. It's like your Savage, your Ruger, CZ. I think so. I dry fire a CZ, never think about it. It's your older rifles where it's usually a problem.
And a firing pin is pretty easy to replace if you actually burn through one. So
yeah. Usually you don't break a firing pin because your barrel is actually a fairly soft metal in comparison. Oh, he's got a CZ there too. Yes.
Let me zoom.
You can see that on his right there, like the top. You get the big flat section.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then the chiseled portion.
Sorry, my screen is very blurry here, and it's just because I have a bad.
No, we see it. We see it good.
The whole thing is actually it's one piece. It's not like there's no forward protrusion here, but it has a massive face. So yeah, that flat, like whatever.
Yeah,
quarter centimeter or half centimeter by half centimeter thing.
Right.
That's going to hit your breech face, and then you're not going to end up breaking your
peening over the breech face.
Yeah. So Zermatt Arms, I shoot a Rimex. That strictly has a chiseled point, and there is no additional. I don't know what you want to call it, protection. So yes. I have dry fired mine a fair bit without removing it, and I have had no issues. But it would be best practice in that case, definitely to remove it, and very easy with the Zermatt. Takes you about 3 seconds if you're slow.
Yeah, I wonder if the Voodoo has that same issue.
The Voodoo does not. It just has the chiseled point again.
Okay,
but. The Voodoos, unless you had somebody mess it up, the firing pin will never even reach the breech. So it's a non-issue again.
Okay, it's not fine.
Unless the firing pin protrusion has been set incorrectly, it's not going to be a problem.
You're full of useful information, John.
Sure, I'll take it.
How'd you get to be so wise in the ways of rimfire rifles? Did you know 2 years ago that you'd know this much about rimfire?
No, I thought rimfire was kind of stupid and pointless, honestly.
And now here you are.
The only no, that's not true. I had 2 rimfires back then. I had an old single shot Kui from my grandpa.
Like everyone?
What's that?
Like everyone.
Yeah, and then I had a Savage, the cheapest Savage I could find, just for pest control.
Savage 64.
No, a Mark II.
Oh, Mark II. That's
yeah. I don't buy semis. It's kind of
that's
another one of
true.
those stupid things.
Oh, see, watch. Yeah. 2 years from now, John's gonna be like the semi rimfire expert.
Never say never.
I'm gonna play this.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. I doubt it too.
Yeah, I like my bolt guns.
Yeah. What about muzzleloader 22s? Does that exist?
No, but if you go back in time, there was a 22 rifle. It was the breech swing out the side, and you'd put in your 22 caliber bullet. Then you would dump in your powder charge, flush full, and then you would close the breech and put your percussion cap on it, and bingo, you had your 22.
That's pretty
and
cool.
It was right about the very same size as what our 22 long rifle is now, because the 22 long rifle was a black powder cartridge initially. So.
Yeah, there's also a guy that used what do you call it? The 22 that shoot in nails into steel.
Ramsets.
Oh, like your
Ramsets. Yeah, there's also a guy that used Ramset blanks and then put that in his gun and then shoved like bullets down and used it as a muzzle loader to see what would happen. It's on YouTube. It's pretty funny.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is that Womfat channel?
No, I can't remember, but yeah, you can do it. I mean, you can fire blanks in your 22 if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that effect when I forget to return my turrets back to 0.
Yeah.
No blanks required.
No blanks required, man. It's just called the first shot of every stage.
What happened?
Yeah. That's it.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we had one of the scopes, the US Optics TS20X, doesn't have a 0 stop, so we had no idea where it was. I wasn't hitting paper at 50 meters. So we had to, and I couldn't bore sight it because it was in an Oryx chassis and the buttstock was just obscuring the bore. So it was kind of, I sort of can see it, but I was kind of, anyway, you had to get closer to the target before it made impacts. We finally walked it on eventually. Frustrating. So
I think, yeah, you were, I don't know how the topic got where it is now, but you were talking about what things can you do to improve your game. So we've already touched on wind. You should make that an effort. Your position, you should make that an effort, and you can do that in your basement. I'm sure there's others. I think a big one, which I know John is a huge proponent of, is consistency. If you are changing, I'm going to look at Thomas right above me here because he's a big culprit of this. Changing mounts every 2 weeks, changing scope, retorquing, unzeroing, changing stock, doing anything. Basically, I would say my strongest suggestion for anybody who has a decent setup is get a set of rings that you want, get a scope that you want, and get a gun that you want, and put it together. Make sure that it doesn't break, and use that for the whole season. Because if you're taking that apart and you got a new barrel, and then you got new ammo, and you got 2 types of ammo, and I never checked the dope for this ammo, but it should be close to the other one, right? It's just like you're setting yourself up for failure, no matter how good of a shot you are. So, consistency. Yeah.
Sounds like John though. John's got like I don't know how many rifles you have now, John.
Like, man, do I count the voodoo or not?
No.
I would say that's one of the biggest ones where I think it'll be of huge value to anybody.
To learn the one unchanging platform.
And that's going to be part of the strategy this year, because I've got a pretty solid setup. I'm still waiting for a scope to show up, so hopefully, but when that shows up, that's the last piece. I have plenty of ammo to last me all season, so there won't be any more fiddling around, because you're wasting so much time constantly.
Exactly.
Testing ammo, testing lots, testing this, and then retorquing, zeroing. So definitely, but my goal beyond that this year, I mean, obviously I have to continue to work on fundamentals, getting the wobble zone under control, but I need to make more educated shots. And my goal is to really work on the wind bracketing, which is something as soon as the timer starts, I forget all the good ideas I had, but I have to slow that down and really think, because I'll easily burn 2 or 3 shots, and then I get kind of frustrated, and I'm like, oh, so now I'm holding 2 mils to one side, 2 mils to the other. I'm, the left edge, the right edge. At some point, at this point, I'm even questioning if I can read which direction the wind is going. Right. Like it becomes, I guess, a panic, and I'm all over the map. So I really want to narrow that down and approach the stage with a much a better researched plan. So,
and I think for guys who's starting out, they need to be confident that with no wind, they can hit that target at that distance. Right. That's the other thing, because a lot of guys, like we talked about it, guys don't have access to 300 yards. Right. So that's the key thing, is being able to find a way, we'll try and put more practice days before matches, so guys can come out and take advantage of those to see if you can make hits with no wind. If there's no wind on that day, we'll try and make the target big enough, like a 3-foot target at 300, so we know where you're hitting. Yeah. And then from there, then it's all on you to make sure that you're not changing anything in your recipe to move that point of impact, right? And then all you have to worry about is making sure that the wind factor is all you've got to be worrying about, right? Because if you can't hit it with no wind, you're not going to hit it with wind. So that's another thing that people need to make time and figure out how to true your ballistic calculator, or at least get dope. Know that, don't rely on your calculator every time. Know that at 300 with this rifle, scope, chassis, ammo, that I'll need X mils to go to 300, right?
I saw
17, 18, right? And write that down. You're going to have to be in that ballpark typically, plus or minus.
For the new shooters out there, and new to Rimfire, I saw Tony Norman posted a video that he put together. I think it was earlier this week. And what was really interesting is that you see him at one of the CRPS, but he's got the scope cam on his B-22. And what was, kind of an aha moment for me is that what I saw through his scope is no different than what I see through my scope, in the sense that, things move. He's got a wobble zone like the rest of us, but he starts like this and it narrows down pretty quickly. So it was really interesting to see through someone else's scope, someone who shoots better than I do, how he gets on target, how he stays on target. I thought that was super valuable. So if you can trace that, check it out. It's actually quite good.
Yeah, it's in the CRPS group, right? He posted it.
Yeah.
In our NRL 20 number 2 or number 3 or something.
Random question, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
So when you're panicking and you're trying to figure out the wind here, do you start shooting faster then?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. Probably.
I think you do.
Yeah.
I think you do. So you'll miss. Bang, you miss. Ooh, okay, where did that go? Bang, you miss. It's like, where did that go? Bang, bang, bang.
Frustrated.
Wait. Yeah. And so now you're panicking in your mind. Say, I'm going to run out of time. I can't figure this out. And everything takes off.
Yeah. And I think maybe that loops back to the mental game. Got to stay cool.
Yeah. And I guess that for me is the whole kicker, because I never did any kind of sports before this, and I didn't compete in anything. Board games don't count, right? And it's that mental to understand what state of mind I need to be in going into a match, and when a stage goes bad, because I still don't know myself well enough in competing mode to know, should I come to a match like pumped up, excited? Should I come to a match really chill? I
think
I don't know.
You just got to watch Rush there, and compare how Nicky Lauda does it to his competitor, you know? And Nicky Lauda just gives you the perfect answer. Like, you know, he's calm, he's composed, he doesn't talk about it. He's like, I'm just here to race, man. Let's not talk about anything else.
Yeah. And I think that's it's having a stage plan and executing it consistently, right? So when you miss, what do you do? Right. So again, everyone's got to figure that out, because you know, you have to know your win bracketing and think of which way you're going to, where you think which direction you're wrong, right? And it should be only wind, right? There could be some weird tailwind that's bringing your bullet up or down, who knows, right? So you got to be able to figure that out, but you always go for windage first. And if that's not working, then you know, what's your next step in that diagnostic chart, and then you move on, and then get to the next position, figure out what you're supposed to do. But also remember, is there a mag change, or am I not allowed to, you know, run with a mag in my rifle? All that stuff's got to be factored into it.
Yeah, I mean, short of me forgetting to re-zero my scope before this stage, because I've done that a couple times, but at this point, I've shot enough within all the distance that you can see on a CRPS, you know, 0 to 350, let's say, that I know vertically the bullet's there, and the targets are pretty generous the farther we go. So when things don't quite line up, it's the win more often than not, unless I'm on a very unstable position, like, you know, that little rope hanging below the treehouse. That was a rough one, but yeah. So this year, definitely, I want to be more confident with wind, and I think the secret to that is wind bracketing, and maybe we should dive deeper on another episode on that subject. I'd be happy to listen, but having that instinct of measuring the target that you're shooting at through your scope, you know, maybe you had a chance to do it before you got the night before, if it's written in the course of fire, but if not, take an extra second and figure out how big your target is, map that to your win bracket going into the stage, and I guess mentally I don't do that quite fast enough yet, and sometimes I skip it, but I'm gonna work on discipline.
There you go.
That's the plan for this year.
Yeah. Cool.
And I just noticed that Tony was actually listening, so shout out to Tony.
Yeah, he put the link to his video there, actually. I opened it. I'm going to watch it in the background. On the subject of wind bracketing, Yannick Leblanc has made a wind bracketing video in French. So if you speak French, go check that out. But then
Donna has the English version.
Yeah, Donna Bouleris, I think, is translated it to English.
Yeah, Ginger Ronan.
Ginger Ronan. They talk about that entire process of wind bracketing, and kind of taking a step back during your pause between shooting stages. They I don't know, it's like 10-15 minute video, but I watched that about 6 months ago, and ever since I watched that video, I've basically been implementing those same standards. So it would almost be not even worth it to talk about it in a podcast, but to just put a link up to those videos, because they honestly explain it so well, and it's available in 2 languages, so there's really no excuse.
We could watch it live and critique it.
Yeah.
Be hard. He explained it so good.
There you go. Let me see if I can find and share the link. While we're doing that, Eve Tuchat had a question on the Wind Teacher targets available. There are a couple of manufacturers that offer the Wind Teacher. I believe that what's Pat's
targets and signs. I think. Look for Pat Robitaille
targets and signs. Pat on Facebook. His email, but yeah. Pat Robitaille. If you have any questions, just PM me and I'll send you the link. And I don't know I can't remember if Gong Zhou was making Wind Teachers also. I don't remember.
I think he added it recently to the lineup. They're quite simple to make, and they're one of the best tools you can work with.
Yeah. And then here's Tony's asking Kevin for his cell phone holder.
You can write it down too, Tony.
Of course, Kevin stepped away while I put this up there, but it's so cool though.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's too good.
There you go.
Yeah, here, Tony. I'll have to. I'll get in touch with you.
Is that version 1 or version 2?
This is version 2 or 3. I've got 2 of them. One's in red, and one was in matte and black because I gave it to Matt, but Matt said he doesn't want it.
It's nothing personal. I'm just more of a paper guy.
Yeah, no, Matt just doesn't like me, and he thinks my design is stupid. So,
I threw it back at him.
Tony. The answer to the question is yes. I need to get more magnets because I don't have those, and okay.
What about doing like a wrist adapter for that, so you can just clip your phone to your wrist, right?
But I feel like the wrist coach that you use where you slip your phone in, that works.
Yeah, I got one of those giant phones that nobody makes a wrist coach for. So, remember the days when manufacturers were trying to make the phones smaller? Those are gone now.
That's one of the reasons why I haven't updated this baby in like 6 or 7 years now.
Maybe that's what I gotta do. I gotta buy an iPhone off a 11-year-old boy, right? They've got like iPhone 4 or iPhone 5 handed down.
That's what I have.
There you
Does
go.
that thing even run any kind of app for ballistics?
I use the Kestrel, and that's one of the reasons I have the Kestrel is I couldn't rely on my phone.
Oh yeah. Just a quick off the track on if you miss a target, and let's say the target is 0.6 mils wide, and it's at 200 yards, it's holding 3 mile per hour of wind, so it's 5 to 8 mile per hour, and you miss. What are you going to do? Move 0.2 mils? And that's the thing where move at least half of a target.
Yeah, I was going to say I would move about a target, but yeah.
Yeah, the problem with moving a full target is if you missed by like 1 mile per hour,
right,
and you move a full target, and then the wind goes back to what it was, then you're going to miss on the other side. But
yeah, one of the challenges where I shoot at the Stittsville range, it's a 200-yard range with 2 berms on either side, right? So the wind is usually either coming at you or behind you. So we don't get a side wind all that often. So this is where when I get a chance to go shoot with Pat on his property, we pretty much spend the entire day shooting at the wind teacher, just so that I try to pack in as much wind experience as possible. But his property is tricky because we put flags at different distance, and it blows one direction until it gets to one of the little valley, and then it starts blowing the other direction. So it's always tricky to figure out what's the.
You don't just get clean wind.
No.
Yeah.
Rarely.
So you're just practicing for your matches there, Thomas.
I was just saying that puts you at an advantage.
Yeah.
That's okay. There's a curse to shooting your own match.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not an advantage, trust me.
Is that why I suck? Or is that a completely different reason?
Listen, we're going to agree to use it as an excuse.
For sure.
Let's not dive too deeply into this. It works out okay.
Perfect. Any other points that people need to remember? I think relaxation is the hardest thing. Don't freak out.
Yeah.
Just, you're not going to hit them all.
I'd say that I've done the best at matches where I kind of went in and thought I had no chance, and I just shot for fun. And then I remember how shocked I was. Warren Field, not the last one, the previous one. So like that's 2 seasons ago now. When you handed me a medal, I was like, who else is shooting? Like this is wrong, but it worked out pretty well. So.
There's a group of guys that got together and did some practicing and kept track of scores. And the guy that got the most scores that day, he had 67 points, is what I'm told. And the next shooter had 60 points. And the guy who took first place, or had the most points, he has never placed. Oh boy,
I'll be right back.
He maybe did place top he was in top 10 once, but everyone was having a good time and shooting. Guy shot good, but he was really focused. And there was one other guy with him he's been working his way up through the board, and those two guys were very focused, and they shot lights out. And I think that is a really big part, that being focused, not chit-chatting with the guy over here that wants to talk about whatever, because you're going to lose your train of thought. Pardon? Bitcoin. Yeah. You're going to lose your train of thought.
Dogecoin.
Hey, Rick, there's a question to what's a wind teacher?
Yeah, I'm looking for...
is a wind teacher.
Oh, you've got one? Perfect.
Actually, let me show you the better side. The one that's got hits on it. There we go.
That's embarrassing. There's as many on the outside as the inside.
Well, we went through a lot of stages. So, hit odd on the way in and even on the way out and all this stuff. So
they're supposed to hit. They're supposed to hit each one once.
Well, you can make up all kinds of different things. But who wants to explain what that is while I hold it up?
It's a wind teacher.
So basically, this is the wind teacher. And the benefit to it is it's pretty wide. So when you miss, you get feedback, right? So if you're aiming at the middle paddle, but you hit this one here, and those are sized 2-inch. So at, what is that? It's about 1 mil at 200-ish.
1 MOA.
1 MOA, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's...
So the advantage is if the target's all shot up, you can see where your impacts are, right? Because you'll see that paddle move. Like on a clean, fresh target of the same size, you'd be able to see the hit, right? But after a while, it saves you from repainting it. And we actually use it in matches where, you only get points if you hit the middle paddle, center paddle. Yeah.
So at 200 yards, 1 mile per hour of wind is approximately 1.5 inches. So if you did it in 1.5 inch strips, then each strip is 1 mile per hour.
At 200. That's awesome.
Yeah. But if you're thinking kilometers per hour, then 2 inch might be 2 kilometers per hour.
John, you're at a different level, man.
What about meters per second?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we could talk that too.
I've recently started thinking in nautical miles.
Yeah. I'm ahead of you. I think of joules of force.
Joules of wind.
Yeah, that's how many joules did I need to get there?
Yeah, or foot-pounds of bullet spin.
Yeah, so John, you're behind the times, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to research some of these big terms, see what they are.
just stay you, man. Oh, man,
I thought of switching to meters per second.
Why?
Because it's smaller numbers, so it's a 1, 2, 3. You seldom see 5, right? And so I thought it might be easier for people to break down in their head that this is a 1 meter per second, this is a 2, and then you could work 1.5. But then I said I did it for about 4 or 5 months, 4 or 5 years ago. Then I decided to go back to miles per hour because that's what I was used to.
You should run a clinic one weekend, John. Just do a brain dump and say, here's what you think about. It might not work for you, but this works for me, and then just walk people through how you think, how you approach the match, how you approach the targets, and just break it down. So here's the current environmentals, right? Windy.com, this is what it's saying. Here's what the Kestrel's saying. This is how I approach the stage. That would be so beneficial, I think. Not that nobody else is.
I'd have to figure out how to say what I think and I'd have to remember what I think, though. That's the problem.
Well, just you just shoot and say, what are you thinking, right? Just run through a stage. So here's what I'm thinking right now. Kestrel's saying 6 miles an hour, 200 yards away, right? Mm-hmm. I'm off the barricade. What am I doing? Here's what I'm doing, right? If I miss, I'm going to miss on this side because I'm holding X. If it gusts, I should be off by no more than 3/4 of the target, right? That kind of stuff. And then people can figure that out and say, well, in order for me to be ready for that, I need to have the following information, right? So based on wind speed and direction, here's the max hold I would need. and based on the min wind condition, here's the min hold I'd need. And right now, when I'm just before I take the shot, I think it's a medium high wind, so I'm going to favor on the higher end, right?
Yeah, I have honestly thought about doing that already. Like,
I think it'd be useful. You wouldn't need a large crew. I think a large crowd would be too big, but I think if you cycle enough people through, small, intimate, and you've got like 4 volunteers right here.
I was gonna say, can your teammate get advanced sign up?
I'll hold the whiteboard and I'll erase it up for you as I furiously scribble. So I think that'd be a great way to spend a couple of days. I think you need a couple of days. So, and then the next day you get them to run through it, or right?
We had Ryan and someone else hold a few clinics at EO
for sure.
USC.
Ken Thiessen.
Ken Thiessen, from Bullseye.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to get. Ryan's a little on the other side of the country now, but maybe Ken can team up with John here and offer some pretty good clinics.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about it. That in the positional stuff, but the problem for me is like I still see myself as a new shooter, and I see all the things that I do wrong still.
Yeah, stay out of the fundamentals, John. The Maple Seed Mafia will come knocking.
Oh, okay.
just stay in your lane. At distance? Just stay in your lane, PRS boy.
That stack of Federal that you have is useful for Maple Seed.
I'm kidding.
What stack of Federal?
www.mapleseedrifleman.com.
There you go.
For fundamentals. Also, I didn't announce it earlier, but if you're a member of Project Maple Seed, you get early access, early notification. So the way it works is when events are released, it goes to the range first, then it goes to members of Project Maple Seed, and then subscribers to the notifications, and then general public. So if you aren't any of the first 3, you are among the last to hear about the event. So at least sign up for notifications, and if you want early, then become a Project Maple Seed member, and you can get memberships on the mapleseedrifleman.com shop. And I will be the person printing off those membership cards and mailing them to you. So don't all do it at once, okay? So that's it. I'm just kidding, John. You can absolutely cover fundamentals. I think there's enough. You can never have enough opportunities to hear about fundamentals and how different people approach it.
Yeah, how different people approach it is important.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just think Maple Seed should allow alternate seating positions.
They do. Okay.
Yeah, but yours is. I don't know if that qualifies even as alternate seating positions there, Kevin.
Well, I'm seating on my butt.
That's advanced yoga.
It's a seating position.
Kelly
call it standing, and it's not prone. So, I mean, what do you want to say?
I think Kelly's rule is it had to be
recognizable.
Recognizable seating position.
Okay, well, you know what? Never mind. What I was going to say is not politically correct, and I shouldn't have said it.
Like if you ask 6 people if they think it's a seated position, and no one says yes, then it's not a seated position.
Probably a bowing position. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I was like Josh both.
I can see Kevin wants to say it.
No, I was going to say, well, then you guys are just discriminating against me. But I wanted to refrain from saying that. These days you can. Anyway, I just got to stop talking.
Listen, for what it's worth, allowed or not during a Maple Seed, it's actually pretty effective. I've seen you use it effectively. So there's value in it if you can.
How much did he pay you, Thomas?
Nothing. Match fee, I guess.
Yeah, it is interesting how there is actually some really weird positions, we'll call them.
Unorthodox.
That have been used over time and effectively, actually.
Yeah.
So
I didn't make that up. I found it from a guy who shoots PRS.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember from where. I think it was, I don't know, some short video. But he was basically like, hey, are you shooting a seated stage? Look at this. I'm still sitting down, aren't I? And then basically yeah, it's like you're fully supported. Like the buttstock is supported, the front is supported by your hand on your leg. You're sitting down. You're not in a kneeling. Like it meets all the criteria, and it's like realistically, if you want to go on the full extreme of like, well, you got to be practical. If you're a sniper or whatever, and you're trying to be practical, why would you not take the most stable position you could at any point in time? So
Correct.
Demo. Someone on the comments said demo time.
there's a picture somewhere on the CRPS group. It was last year though, so it could be buried now. But there's a picture somewhere.
He has a video of it on Kevin on his Instagram. Kevin 22.
Yeah.
So
Check him on Instagram.
Mark Giles. Yeah, Mark Giles. Maple Seed teaches positional shooting in standing, seated, or kneeling, and prone. So they actually go through all three of them. So it is covered.
It'll be all unsupported, correct?
All unsupported. Yeah, no bipods or shooting off the mag.
So true positional.
True.
Pizza
Positional.
boxes unsupported at 400 yards. Is that the correct metric?
That is the standard 16-inch square. That's
large
the
pizza.
Yeah. I was trying to find the service rifle guys. The guys I shoot with, they have this. They shoot seated, but they use their knee as the support. I can't remember. I'm trying
like
to find
what we do in the snow, where you plant your feet up and you lean on your knees. No,
they kind of shoot over. They're hunched over their knee, and they have the grip and the mag on either side of the knee, and they're shooting through that. I believe. I'm trying to find a picture of it.
I've seen some pretty weird stuff out of cowboy action too.
It works.
Leaning back on their and shooting the pistol off of their hip.
Yeah,
pretty odd stuff.
I got the picture of Kevin here. I'm just pulling it up on my phone. It's a screenshot because it's a video, so I didn't want to have to worry about playing it. But that's this the weird yoga pose. I mean, it is. I don't know. Is it half kneeling, half sitting? You guys decide. As long as it's legal in ORPS and he does it there, I don't mind.
it's kneeling.
It's a kneel sit. It's a knit. He's knitting.
It's an intermediate position. It's an intermediate height position for sure. It's not prone. It's not standing.
No, it's definitely not prone. Definitely not standing. So it has to be kneeling or sitting.
The knees on the ground, so it's kneeling. If it was seated, the butt would be touching the ground.
Where can we see the photo again?
Yep. Yeah, the buttstock is definitely not touching the ground, but his knee is touching.
There's one knee on the ground, and I was gonna say like the elbow's not touching the ground, so that's key right there.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is the elbow touching the ground. No, it's touching his knee, right?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, very, very strange.
When I first seen that video, I thought, yeah, right. And then he starts hitting stuff, and it's like, seriously? And I thought maybe I should try it. And then I decided I can't bend over that far anyway.
Yeah.
So.
It's a very select group of people that can employ that.
I envy those that can, but...
I'm going to be I don't think it requires flexibility. I'll tell you why. I am one of the least flexible individuals I know. And you can do it. Like even if you're a little more round, you'll still be able to do it. So I would say
my problem is I can't do it and keep breathing. Like it's one or the other.
Yeah.
So I might pass out.
But I can't remember who I tried it with. I can't remember who, but they were able to do it. It is flexible to individuals of various levels of flexibility and physique. So
it's non-dimensionally discriminatory.
Yeah.
Is it just me on screen right now?
That's all you. Checking your haircut out, dude.
Oh, thanks.
I had zoomed in for your photo, and I was looking for this seated kneeling photo.
Yeah, I was getting really self-conscious there,
Hey, Rick, if you can give me the screen here, I'm going to share the two photos while we're looking at photos that I was talking about earlier. So the first one is the tank trap that Matt was talking about. So you see how we're just, I don't know is it sharing right now?
Yeah, there it is.
All right. So there's this, I guess, contraption in the middle. It's 3 pieces of steel where you just pass through. Is yours? Do you use 2x4s or do you use 4x4s, Matt? This is mine. This is 4x4s.
4x4s. Yeah.
All right. And super easy. They basically just slip out, and you can throw that in your car pretty easily. And there's a lot of practice to be had on one of these. There's all kinds of uncomfortable position shooting. If you're shooting on your weak side or on your on the weaker side, I guess the leg can get in the way to the bolt and all that. So there's lots you can practice with. And then the IKEA stage that we had talked about is this here. And I promise I had not practiced this the night before, right? I just grabbed a bunch of stuff that was in the garage, and I guess, since I owned a truck, I didn't mind squishing it, so I sat on it and put the plank right on my knee, and it was
basically shooting off the bench.
Yeah,
yeah.
The only thing is there was a lot of questions whether or not I would clear the barrier in the front, but it all cleared. I eventually turned my bag around to give it an extra little bit.
If you didn't clear it with the first shot, you'd clear it through the second.
Yeah, I don't know about that. If you're very consistent. But yeah, that was, for those who haven't shot an IKEA stage at a CRPS, it's basically random bits and pieces that we typically wrangle on the farm or wherever we are.
Collect on your way out the door.
Exactly. And you have to use what's at your disposal to raise yourself up above the barricade or the wall that's in front of you and engage the targets that are downrange. Really fun stage. One of my favorite, actually. So you can expect to see it at my ORPS on occasion and definitely at my CRPS. All right.
Which is basically just a glorified ORPS, but yeah, I know it.
It's a signature. It's a signature.
Yeah. Good, Thomas. See, I'm working on these small targets so that I'm going to be ready when I come out to Ottawa.
Yeah. I found that photo of the hybrid.
Oh, yeah.
So this is their kneeling. This is how all the cool kids were shooting the event. So just pistol grip and mag sandwiching the knee.
Yeah, but we can't get those mags because this is considered a fully semi-automatic assault weapon.
No, we can get them pinned for 5 though, with the full 30-round body.
There you go. Yeah. Get a 30-round voodoo mag. Does that exist yet?
They have a
3D
15.
print something.
They have a 15.
Yeah.
Oh. Or just banana clip them end to end. Just get the right end cap. Double enders.
Well, even for the 457, they make a 25-rounder banana mag for the CZ guns. You could use that.
I've never used it. I don't have one bag. I've never used it once.
I've seen them a couple of times. I mean, there was no real benefit in the early days because we never really put much past 10. I mean, it'd be rare.
There's no benefit now. Anyways, you can't. The barricade manipulation is like next to impossible because the thing comes out like 4 inches in front of the magwell.
Can you even get that out of an ACC chassis?
I haven't even tried it.
With that curve, I don't know.
Maybe if you lube up your finger a little bit. And stick
you just need to drill a hole in the front magwell.
Yeah, I think it's more for that semi platform that CZ has.
It is. It's for the 512, 512. Yeah.
I've never shot that. Why haven't I shot that yet?
Yeah. Anyways, I think gentlemen, I'm gonna go to bed here. So,
right. Any other topics? I think we're pretty much at the end of the topic, unless someone else has any other points to add.
It was fun chatting.
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah,
it was.
Everyone. Any shout outs for me?
As always.
My thanks again to Asmir and Miriam at testroad.ca for their continued support of the podcast. Appreciate them, and appreciate them dangling all those tempting products on their Just Arrived page. So if you haven't checked it out, check out testroad.ca/justarrived. And you'll see some of the new tempting stuff, CRKT knives and CZ centerfire rifles, which I am sure by the end of the year, one will be in my safe. So, all right. Any other shout outs from anybody else? No.
Oh, my good wife for letting me talk to you characters, and I'm actually I won't talk to her tonight because I'm talking to you guys. So
thanks, John.
Wow, nice.
maybe you should.
Pretty special.
That's priority.
Well, we appreciate it. Thanks, John. Thanks, Nora.
No.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Catch you guys on the flip side. Take it easy, everybody.
Later.
Take care.